Harry and Meghan, the dreariest couple in the history of planet Earth.
Now, a staggering 2/3 of Brits are calling for Harry and Meghan to be stripped of their HRH titles.
Let's chat about Meghan Markle. She couldn't be more cringe if she tried.
Prince William plans to flex his muscles and wipe his wayward brother Prince Harry and his power-hungry wife Meghan from the history books.
Prince William is reportedly formulating a plan to finally strip Prince Harry and Meghan Markle of their HRH titles.
Well, Her Royal Highness Meghan Markle, Duchess of Sussex, is about to be stripped of her official title.
It's hardly a secret that the palace has already conducted secret meetings with members of the government to discuss putting the plan into action.
Are you joking? It's bad. It's terrible.
I would love reconciliation with my family. I don't know how much longer my father has. He won't speak to me because of this security stuff. But it would be nice to reconcile. If they don't want that, that's entirely up to them.
She's slaughtered this weekend because there were some business cards in the back of one of her podcasts. She's still using her royal title, HRH, despite our late Queen warning her against.
Are you joking? It's bad. It's terrible. It's stupid.
Prince William, he's reportedly furious after it emerged that Meghan Markle is still using her HRH title despite agreeing to drop the title when the Sussexes left royal duties.
Meghan Markle has been very brazen recently with the use of the HRH.
The American actress who became a duchess, who tried to destroy the royal family, which then booted them out of England.
With King Charles on his way out, Prince William is expected to take over the crown. And apparently at the top of his list is to say, "Peace out, Meghan, you're done." And he plans to formally strip Meghan Markle of her royal title.
It's not a financial thing. Working royals do not profit. They do not use their names to make money. It's an honour to have an HRH.
Absolutely.
So the fact that she's continued to use this HRH when they've been instructed not to, I think is absolutely infuriating in Buckingham Palace.
This is a lady who's very popular for being awful.
But I just can't stand her. I just think she's such a phony.
Harry's digging an even bigger hole for himself here.
Well, I think he's dug so deep now, he'll strike water any day now.
Like, guys, you don't got to do this. Please, I'm begging you to stop.
You just can't keep faking it.
We immediately went into the trenches together.
Yeah.
It started with a whisper in Westminster and turned into a political firestorm. Over 70 members of the House of Lords, Britain's most traditional and tight-lipped chamber, have signed an official petition calling for Meghan Markle to be stripped of every royal title she holds. Not just Duchess of Sussex, not just her styling as Her Royal Highness. Every trace of royal recognition, gone. And the country's asking what could possibly cause such a historic move. The answer? A perfect storm of royal secrecy, public suspicion, and explosive claims that have bubbled beneath the surface for years, finally boiling over. At the center of it all is a growing belief that key parts of Meghan's time within the monarchy, especially surrounding the births of her children, may not have been what they seemed. Testimonies now surfacing suggest inconsistencies in medical records, missing hospital documentation, and internal concerns about whether royal protocol was ever followed at all. The petition doesn't just raise questions, it makes direct claims, alleging that Meghan may have misrepresented details related to lineage and motherhood, creating what some lords are calling a breach of constitutional trust.
But she said she was in the trenches. She alludes to being in the trenches when she was in the British royal family. Girl, you lived in a castle. Like, you got a princess title.
In any other family, it might be gossip. But in the royal family, it's a potential crisis of legitimacy. And here's what makes it even more dramatic. This isn't just about Meghan. If the accusations hold weight, it could impact the royal standing of Archie and Lilibet, potentially removing their place in the royal line and undoing every title and styling granted since their birth. The palace is silent. The media is split. But Parliament has spoken, and they want answers. This isn't just a royal scandal. It's a constitutional reckoning. So how did a quiet petition filed on a rainy afternoon become the most talked about document in Britain? Let's rewind to the beginning and break down the uprising that just might change the monarchy forever. It didn't come from a scandal sheet. It didn't leak through anonymous palace aides. This petition, now shaking the foundation of the monarchy, entered the system the old-fashioned way, officially, quietly and with the full weight of Parliament behind it.
People were falling at your feet. People would run your bathwater for you. I mean, I could list the things, the perks. I could list them forever. The trenches. She has got to. The Delulu is on another level. Sometimes I envy it.
The document, just 6 pages long, was submitted into the House of Lords Registry on a Thursday afternoon, tucked between routine motions on tax reform and foreign aid. But by the following day, it had become the most downloaded file in Westminster. The author, Lord Richard Braxton, an unlikely revolutionary. A long-serving Conservative peer with a reputation for loyalty to the crown, Braxton is not the kind of man to stir the pot. But when he rose in the chamber that day, what followed was anything but ordinary. In his address, he stated plainly that the British public deserved to know if they had been misled, deliberately and strategically, by someone holding royal power. He read excerpts aloud, detailing alleged inconsistencies in hospital records, questions about legal documentation, and reports of insider discomfort about how Meghan's pregnancies were handled from day one. He didn't make wild accusations. He stuck to the language of constitutional concern.
I've never seen this before. I've never seen someone that struggles to just give us like one strip of authenticity.
But the implications were loud and clear. The petition accuses Meghan of manipulating the royal system by misrepresenting essential facts, especially around the births of her children, and using that image to gain or retain privileges tied to her title. That includes access to royal funding, security, influence, and inheritance rights for her kids. And this wasn't a one-man crusade. Within 48 hours, over 70 lords from across political lines had added their names to the motion. Some were motivated by legal precedent, others cited public outrage. A few were reportedly pressured by constituents who felt the monarchy had gone too quiet for too long. The petition doesn't merely ask for clarification. It demands a review. It calls on Buckingham Palace to produce official documentation to confirm or correct the public record. For years, questions were dismissed as noise. But now, they're being entered into parliamentary record. And with the petition set to go to formal debate later this summer, one thing is clear: the monarchy is officially on the clock. But what exactly are these allegations? And why are they being taken seriously now? That's where things get personal.
It was agreed with Queen Elizabeth that they will not use the HRH title. That is a long-standing precedent, and there's good reason for it. Basically, the HRH is only given to working royals and senior members of the royal family.
Fast. This wasn't the first time the rumors came up, but this time, they didn't come from Twitter threads or YouTube comments. They came from sworn statements, insider testimonies, and hospital staff who are now stepping into the light. At the center of the House of Lords petition are allegations that Meghan Markle may not have physically given birth to either of her 2 children, Archie and Lilibet. Instead, it's claimed that surrogates may have been used, and that the truth was hidden behind a carefully controlled public narrative. These aren't whispers anymore. They're now part of an official document circulating through one of the most powerful institutions in the country. One of the most cited testimonies comes from a former administrator at Portland Hospital in London, where Meghan was said to have delivered Archie. Under legal protection, she claims there was no record of Meghan being admitted, no royal lockdown protocols, and no trace of the typical hospital security measures that always accompany a royal birth. Adding to the fire is a second whistleblower, a data specialist who says he combed through the hospital's digital system using multiple identity variables. His finding? Nothing. Not even an alias. According to him, that kind of silence is impossible to miss.
The hypocrisy is beyond anything I've ever seen.
He's a duplicitous, self-centered, vile, disloyal hypocrite.
Across the Atlantic, a third voice emerged. A woman known only as Dr. E, who claims she worked at Santa Barbara Cottage Hospital in California around the time Lilibet was reportedly born. Her statement, while not officially confirmed by U.S. authorities, mirrors the same issue. No known birth record under Meghan's name, her child's name, or any royal code. The petition doesn't stop there. It outlines how photos released after the births were taken far from any medical facility, how no doctors were ever named publicly, and how even the birth certificates had unusual redactions or edits after the fact. Critics of the theory argue that Meghan had every right to keep her medical life private. But supporters of the petition say this goes beyond privacy. In the royal world, lineage equals legitimacy. And if that lineage was misrepresented, intentionally or not, it raises serious questions about royal titles, funding, and succession. And here's the catch. If surrogacy was used and not disclosed, British law requires additional legal steps to make those children legitimate heirs. If those steps weren't followed, then every title they hold, every HRH styling, could be on shaky ground. And that's why the next section of this saga focuses on what Parliament is preparing to do about it. So,
brat, to be honest, and very, very entitled.
Harry and Meghan, they have an issue when it comes to their memory and when it comes to the truth.
Take me out back and shoot me, okay? Just end my agony now.
How does something like this actually move from whispers and petitions to stripping royal titles? It starts with the House of Lords, but it doesn't stop there. Once a petition is formally accepted into the Lords Registry and backed by a significant number of peers, as this one now is, with over 70 signatures, it triggers a set of steps few modern royals have ever faced. First, the document is reviewed by a committee that determines whether it qualifies for public debate. This petition passed that test in record time. Next comes scheduling. A full debate is expected in the coming weeks, an open floor discussion where Lords can speak, raise objections, demand clarifications, or even request public testimony. And if a majority agrees that the concerns are legitimate, that's when things escalate. The Lords can issue a formal resolution urging the monarch to take action, either by amending the royal warrant that granted Meghan her titles, or by invoking a historic act most people forgot existed, the Titles Deprivation Act of 1917. That law was originally passed to remove honors from royals who supported enemy nations during World War I. But legal scholars say it still applies in cases involving fraud, betrayal of trust, or actions seen as damaging to the integrity of the crown.
She is relentless, she is shameless, and she is exhausting. You are not a successful female entrepreneur.
When the stakes are this high, doesn't it make more sense to hear our story from us?
And that's the language being used now, quietly but firmly. Inside Downing Street, the Prime Minister's office has acknowledged the petition, calling it a constitutional matter Parliament has every right to debate. That's a subtle but powerful message. They won't interfere, which means the door is open for the Lords to move forward. No blocks, no delays. Meanwhile, whispers from within Whitehall suggest certain MPs may join the conversation, pushing for greater transparency not just from Meghan, but from the palace itself, especially if it turns out that top aides or courtiers had knowledge of inconsistencies and helped keep it under wraps. And that's where the pressure builds. Because if the palace knew and stayed silent, it's not just Meghan's titles on the line. The monarchy's credibility could take a hit it might not recover from. This isn't just about a duchess. It's about how far the crown is willing to go to protect its image, and whether Parliament will step in when it believes that image is built on shaky ground. But inside the palace walls, the tension is already rising, and the divide between royals is starting to show. While Parliament sharpens its focus, behind the gates of Buckingham Palace, the mood is anything but composed. Sources close to the royal household say the atmosphere has shifted from quiet concern to full-blown crisis mode. King Charles, only months into his reign, is now reportedly facing the toughest test of his leadership. Not from a political opponent or scandalous memoir, but from a 6-page document and a wave of parliamentary momentum. According to insiders, palace aides are scrambling.
Oh, shut up. What do you mean the stakes are this high? Who do you think you are? Other than a latte-munching imbecile living in luxury in California while the rest of the world's a cost of living crisis, moaning and whining about an institution which gave you the titles on which you now trade millions of dollars. What are you talking about? What stakes?
Legal teams have been ordered to gather all available documentation surrounding Meghan's pregnancies. Travel logs, private medical records, even internal emails. The urgency? If the palace can't produce clarity fast, it risks being seen as complicit in a cover-up it never intended to manage. And the royal family? They're no longer on the same page. Reports suggest that Prince William is increasingly frustrated, not just with Meghan, but with the institution's reluctance to act. One insider said William is ready to protect the crown at any cost, even if that means publicly supporting the removal of titles. He's said to believe the longer the palace stays silent, the worse the damage will be. Meanwhile, Prince Harry remains noticeably quiet. Living thousands of miles away in California, he's yet to make a statement, but sources say he's been staggered by the scale of the petition. Insiders claim he reached out to William shortly after the news broke, looking for guidance, or maybe warning. Whether that conversation happened, no one knows for sure. Then there's Princess Kate, a figure who, for years, kept her thoughts out of the public spotlight. But behind the scenes, her doubts reportedly started long ago. A private staff journal, now rumored to be part of the palace's internal review, describes her raising quiet questions back in 2019 about the lack of hospital protocol surrounding Meghan's birth plan. When those questions were met with silence, Kate stepped back, but she never stopped observing. It's even been suggested that she kept personal notes documenting her concerns, not out of malice, but out of duty.
You're in America now, and we don't give a shit about you. You're not our fucking prince. You'll never be king. We hate your wife. Stay at home in your $29 million mansion, all right?
Oh my God, I can't even. These two, Meghan and Harry, are the worst.
And those notes? They're now reportedly with the palace legal team in a secured archive. The unity once displayed by the Fab Four has long since faded, and as the monarchy is dragged into a full-blown legitimacy debate, the fault lines are only deepening. But while the royals whisper behind closed doors, Meghan's team is going public, and their strategy is anything but subtle. As headlines explode and political pressure mounts in London, Meghan Markle isn't staying completely silent, at least not through her team. Just days after the House of Lords petition went public, Meghan's legal representatives released a sharply worded statement calling the entire effort an absurd, politically motivated attack with no foundation in reality. They framed the petition not as a legitimate concern about royal protocols, but as a targeted campaign fueled by bias, resentment, and old guard resistance to change. And that's been a common theme in Meghan's public narrative from the very beginning. In her now famous Oprah interview, she described her time in the royal family as isolating and psychologically draining. She spoke about her desire to shield her children from the intense glare of royal scrutiny. She emphasized privacy, not secrecy, self-protection, not deception. To her defenders, the latest wave of accusations is just a new chapter in an old story. A woman of color, a non-traditional royal being dragged for refusing to play by the palace's ancient rules. Prominent voices in the media have echoed this sentiment, arguing that Meghan is being held to a standard no other royal spouse has ever faced. Some American commentators have gone even further, calling the petition a distraction from more pressing issues in Britain, and warning that the monarchy is alienating younger, more global audiences by pursuing what they see as a personal vendetta.
Now, when Meghan Markle and Prince Harry decided to leave the royal family, they agreed with Queen Elizabeth that they would not use their official title, His Royal Highness or Her Royal Highness, in any commercial capacity. And despite that, Meghan has now readopted Meghan, Duchess of Sussex. But not only that, she's also started to use Her Royal Highness, Duchess of Sussex.
But there's a growing countercurrent too. Critics, many of them outside the royal bubble, point out that this isn't just about feelings or media coverage, it's about official documents. It's about how titles are assigned, how records are verified, and whether the monarchy, still funded by taxpayers, can operate without transparency. Even supporters of Meghan have quietly acknowledged that the palace's silence on key procedural questions has left room for speculation to grow. And there's another wrinkle: Meghan's public brand. From Netflix deals to podcast partnerships and fashion ventures, much of her visibility still leans on the Duchess of Sussex identity. If that title is removed, it could mean more than just a symbolic loss. It could shift her entire business model. Her allies are clearly aware of the stakes. Meghan's PR team has already begun repositioning her narrative, doubling down on empowerment, motherhood, and independence, while staying away from direct engagement with the petition's allegations. But as the calls for answers grow louder, even her silence is beginning to sound like a message. And out in the streets, and across social media, the public is already taking sides. While Parliament debates and Palisades scramble, the court of public opinion has already reached a verdict, or rather, two of them. On one side, royal loyalists are flooding the internet with hashtags like Namber strip her title, a royal fraud, and Tamber truth over titles. turning the petition into a grassroots movement. Within 72 hours of the news breaking, a publicchange.org petition mirroring the House of Lords motion gathered over 500,000 signatures and counting. Demonstrators have even appeared outside Parliament holding signs that read, "Protect the Crown, not the cover-up." British tabloids, once hesitant to go near the story for fear of legal repercussions, are now dedicating front pages to the saga. Headlines like "The Crown at Risk" and "Was it all a lie?"
Now, the king can end this feud, but not by shaking hands with this treacherous little weasel, but by stripping him and his wife of the royal titles that they love to use for commercial gain without doing any of the work.
Are turning what was once whispered into water cooler conversation. And it's not just the UK watching. In the US, where Meghan and Harry have cultivated their post-royal identities, the reaction is more divided. Some media outlets have defended Meghan fiercely, calling the petition a witch hunt wrapped in tradition. Others, particularly legal analysts, are asking hard questions. Why can't the palace or Meghan's team simply provide clear proof? If everything checks out, why let speculation spiral out of control? Even traditionally neutral Commonwealth nations like Canada and Australia have begun discussing the potential global impact. Royal commentators in Sydney openly questioned whether members of the royal family residing abroad should continue receiving official recognition if doubts about lineage remain unanswered. And this is where things get especially tense for the monarchy. Because this debate is no longer just about Meghan, it's about trust in the entire royal system. And the longer Buckingham Palace maintains its silence, the more it begins to resemble avoidance rather than diplomacy. Meanwhile, online forums and fan pages are ablaze with theories, timelines, and frame-by-frame video analysis of Meghan's past appearances during her pregnancies. From the so-called bump fold video to the shifting sizes across public engagements, armchair investigators are treating it like a royal cold case. Still, not everyone's convinced. Critics of the public backlash argue it's gone too far, that asking a mother to defend how she gave birth crosses a deeply personal line. But for supporters of the petition, it's not about Meghan's personal choices, it's about whether official records were manipulated to uphold a public image. And if they were, they argue, then the monarchy's silence isn't just suspicious, it's unacceptable. And as all eyes turn back to Parliament, the question becomes, what will they actually do about it? What started as quiet suspicion has exploded into a full-scale constitutional showdown, one that now threatens to redraw the royal family's future. With over 70 lords backing the petition and global media zeroing in, Meghan Markle's royal titles and her children's standing hang in the balance. But this isn't just about Meghan. It's about the monarchy's ability to protect its legacy without compromising its credibility. If even part of the petition's claims are proven true, the fallout could go beyond titles. It could redefine how royal legitimacy is verified, how public funds are justified, and how much the people are willing to accept without proof. But if the palace continues to remain silent, public trust, already fractured, may begin to crumble beyond repair. In a monarchy built on tradition, image, and inherited honor, truth isn't just important, it's everything. So the question isn't just whether Meghan will lose her titles, it's whether the crown itself can withstand the weight of unanswered questions. What do you think? Should the palace speak up or stay silent? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more on this unfolding royal reckoning.